Friday is still an unusual time, so we'll see what. Now we're live. There we are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a delight to have our new special middle of the afternoon tea time, I'd like to think. Substack live session. And today, my wonderful, wonderful guest is none other than Emma Cox. Good afternoon, Emma. How are you doing? What's going on?
Hi, Barbara, from a lovely sunny afternoon here in England. Yes, I'm doing really well.
That's right, not London.
Yeah.
You're so gracious. And
Well,
welcome, Mary
where I
Jane.
live is about,
Welcome.
yeah, I live about 30 miles south of London, and a lot of people have never heard of where I am. So a lot of people just say London as the overarching part of
Oh,
it.
I know, but can you reference that wonderful wood near you?
Oh, yes. Okay. So I grew up in a place called the Ashdown Forest, which is in East Sussex, which is about 15 miles away from where I live now. This is very, very famous for a certain little bear called Winnie the Pooh. And the 100-acre wood is there, and it's actually 500-acre wood. It's a bit bigger than that. And the Pooh Bridge exists. I have been to it a long time ago. And funnily enough, there was an article in one of the Sunday newspapers recently with all the original illustrations, the A.H. Shepherd original
Mhm.
illustrations. So I've kept them.
Yeah.
So they're so
Oh,
beautiful.
yes. Oh,
Yes.
they are so wonderful. And it is actually available on the web. And Fiddlesticks. I mean, anyway, that's not what we're here for. I will, next time I'm just going to say you're calling in from the 100-acre wood. I'm sorry. But
Well, if you like, at some point, we might be able to do some sort of live from there. We could see.
live from the
Yeah.
bridge, we'll play Fiddlesticks.
Yeah.
Pooh sticks. Pooh sticks, sorry. So, Emma, tell us about what's coming next week. What's going on?
So, for my usual Emma Explores on Thursday next week, I decided to look into one particular family line. So, it's one I've known bits and pieces about, and I've decided to pull things together. So, the family name is Mosley, Mosley. And I can trace it back to around about the 1400s, but I've actually sort of chosen not to go quite that far. So I'm actually going back to the early 1800s, sort of 1720s. So it all goes back to Sir John Parker Mosley and his family, and what his descendants get up to, and who marries whom, and what they end up doing, and how many children one person has, which is the biggest I've ever come across in the family. So that's pretty
Multiple
amazing.
mothers, multiple mothers.
Two mothers, but the first one didn't have that many. The second one had a lot, an awful lot. Yeah. And sort of people intermarrying each other, and working out what happened there, and trying to pulled threads out, I think, is a good way of describing it, and working out how the threads go. Because when you're looking at a family tree and you think, I know that name, and you suddenly think, well, hang on a minute, they've both married somebody with that same surname, and it's like, are they brothers themselves or sisters themselves? Well, I have two brothers marrying two sisters, but there's also a twist to that one as well. I'll say that on the day rather than saying it all now. And they married into an interesting family, and there's connections with Darwin, Charles Darwin, and the Wedgwood family. So, are you familiar with Wedgwood
Oh,
property?
yes. I was about to put, oh, I broke it. I had a wonderful, yes. I actually kept the pieces.
You could mend it, super glue, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Or turn it into something else.
Yeah, that's my list.
So basically, yes, marriage, the Wedgwood family and Darwin family, there's connections there. There's also going down to people who are fairly recent times, some a bit more controversial than others. I won't say too much because I'd like people to actually listen and look at it, because I think it's an interesting family there.
Adventures in the family tree. That's really what you're doing in
Mm,
Emma Explores, isn't it? It's
it
adventures in the
is.
family
Yeah.
tree.
And I never know what I'm going to discover, because each bit of this is, I know some of it, but I end up doing more research to
Mhm,
actually sort of expand on things, or something catches my eye, and I just think,
mhm.
oh, what's that? And I'll have a quick look at that, and who is this person, and what did they do, and is that person famous? And I always look them up, and just as I do some sort of Google search or something like that, and see, do people have entries on there? I'll sometimes look on the peerage, is quite a good one, just to see if anybody's
Yeah,
got any ancestry
yeah,
on there, because that's a good way
yeah.
of actually finding ancestry. and
Yeah.
just to see
Yeah.
who's out there that might be worth writing about or talking
Right.
about.
Right. Right. Hey there. Welcome. Welcome. Good morning, Maeve and Rick and David. Good to see you joining us. I think eh, so many of us do start along that path of, ooh, am I related to? Um, I think, at least for me, it's been this kind of thing where, yeah, it might have started with, am I related to? But over time, I've discovered making these connections to not necessarily famous people, but whoever I bump into, that it really helps me to put it into context. Oh, you talk about such and they were active in so and so, which was near
Mm.
where my ancestors were so and so. Am I related to them? Because then now all of a sudden it's like I've got a connection. I've got a personal connection that makes me really care even more about the story that's been told. So it's not necessarily someone who's famous or, like you say, you have to look them up. Is it anybody that ever did anything? But it also makes you think about what we're doing and who our people were, and something else that might tell us more about our people in ways that we didn't expect. Um,
One of the things that always intrigues me is about people marriages where you get cousins marrying or families connecting. And when I look through my tree, I'm actually quite good at remembering names. Names stick out, and I think I've seen that name somewhere before, and I can't remember what it was because it might have been a couple of years ago. But I remember the surname, and just thinking, I know that surname, but does that surname connect up on this branch, or does it connect up on another branch? And sort of, oh, these families are intermarried. Okay, oh, they were in the same area, so they actually may have grown up together, or it might have been not necessarily the same generation, it might have been a couple of generations later. And you just think,
yeah.
okay, that's quite fun, trying to work out all the different connections between people.
Yeah. Well, remembering last names, you're in the right business. Have you ever found that among your many clients as a professional genealogist?
What, that I'm related?
Well, either that
Or
you're related or they're related to each other or other kinds of things?
yes, there's actually a lady who's in her 80s, who's actually one of my neighbours. Fiona, her name is, and she comes from a Scottish background. And I was looking at her tree and I thought, what's her name? I'm going to pronounce this horribly wrong. Makechi, I think it's pronounced. And it's like, I know that name, and I've come across that name in my tree. And I haven't worked out the exact relationship, but there is some relationship between those two trees there. And I
Yeah.
always look when I get a new client, I think, do I know these names already? And is there some connection between the clients in some way? Or have they come from the same area? Or I read articles in the many journals that I subscribe to as part of the different family history societies that I'm a member of. And I think, okay, is that mine? Is that the clients? Because some clients I can remember, other ones I can't. And you just think, and even when my parents live on the Ashdown Forest, there's what they call the Airman's Grave, and this is the site of an aircraft that crashed in the Second World War. And it's not there anymore, but it's actually quite a well-known place where they have the Remembrance Sunday services, and they used to have a plane fly over and drop poppies and things like that a few years ago. Well, you get a lot of people turning up, and it turns out that one of the names in there that I hadn't actually taken into account, because I'd never really looked at it before. I've been there loads of times, but was actually the name of one of my clients. And it's like I started researching them, and I actually pointed it out because it was after I'd done that work for them. It's like, oh, I found this as well. And I actually found another mention of that name recently. So I need to actually pass that on, because you never know what you're going to discover.
Well, I can just see I feel like there must be a Latin word for collector of names, you know? There
Sounds
must
like
be,
it, doesn't there?
doesn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah,
A numer something or other.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess one of the things that I love about this community is the ways in which we're so spread out. We have these, at least to the extent that we're all English speakers, we have this connection of language to start with.
Mm.
Sometimes it's language and heritage, and some it's very distant, but it's something. And to see the differences in how it carries forward, having shared experiences in things like the allies of World War II, having all been on the same side or in some cases been on opposite sides, and how we resolve those or how we come together it just blows my mind to see a family who has such art such an articulation of all of those connections and yet lived in the same island for centuries upon centuries. It really blows my mind. Partly because, I mean, I feel like I have this remarkable connection in one side of my family for generations in the continent, but generations and generations in an island just blows my mind. Yeah, Japan, you have people who have been a much smaller place, and again, centuries upon centuries. Of course, there is intermarriage.
Mm, mm. And you talk about recognizing names and things. There's the projects that are ongoing on Substack at the moment. My 8 great grandparents, my 16 great grandparents. I always look. I always look to see if my surnames are amongst them. And I have approached people a couple of times and said, "Oh, we share a surname, and do we have anyone in common?" And it hasn't worked out, but I always look.
Right. Well, as David pops in with pedigree collapse, it's a real thing.
Yeah, yeah. I've got that. So my great grandparents were second cousins, I think, and my grandparents were second cousins. So it's and when you look and you look in a tree and you think there were 10 siblings and 3 siblings married 3 other siblings, and you just think, okay, there's quite a lot going on there. And then further down the tree, someone else might have married.
Yeah. And yet we survived.
We did. Relatively healthy.
Relatively
Yeah.
healthy, but it just
Yeah.
goes to show.
So on the subject of great grandparents, I have just finished my 8 great grandparents. It's taken me quite a while, and
Mhm.
I've done fairly good biographies for all of them. So if anybody wants to look, that's on my Emma Substack. And if anyone has any names in common, do contact me. I'd love to know. Definitely love to know.
I'll drop that into the notes to this one, as I will, things about next Thursday's program. I do always try to keep the notes for these events in the recordings to keep as much as I do. And I will add
Mm.
that for each of our Emma Explores events, you are so generous with the resources. You're telling stories about your own family, and then you include this remarkable list of it's like a professional's toolkit of the remarkable resources that you've used and have found helpful to finding these topics. For example, I was just listening on some other podcast, I can't remember what it was, about transcriptions and some of the new AI tools
Mm.
for Mondays with Mert, new transcription tools and whatnot. And there was a reference to some of the transcription tools. What's the app that does it run on a PC, runs on the web for transcriptions of difficult languages and whatnot? That is the kind of thing that is just so tremendously helpful. I know I'm dipping into that even when I'm not necessarily chasing down the surnames, but the whole business of surnames in these my 16, my 8, looking back at the grandparents, I honestly didn't understand, did not appreciate how incredibly interesting that is to now, with a combination of SEO, be able to look up and find these names and these connections.
And I have to give a shout out to Robin Stewart here because on one of her GenStack Coterie things, she talked about creating a table of contents so that you can find things more easily. So I've done that for my 8 there. And so I've got the 8 of them sitting there, and it's got little images with the short description and then a link through to each of them as one simple way that people can find those on the Substack itself. So everything's in one place there. So I think that's a really good idea. If you're going to do a load of biographies or whatever it is, put in a table of contents so people can find them more easily.
Right. The magic is that name and their dates, and then the links. Just using the power of links is so incredible to search.
Yeah.
Who knew?
And you mentioned transcripts. I was reading another article. There was a guy called John Reed, and I didn't credit him in this one, but he's in Canada, and he posts loads of different things. And one of the things he mentioned was about tools and about the tools that people use. So that inspired me to go and find my own top 3 tools. And one of those was the transcription tool, Transcribe, which is
That's it.
free if you want to
Yeah.
use it, or you can pay a very small amount to get a version where you can put windows side by side and things, but the basic one's free. So I use that one. I use Snagit. if people have come across Snagit for actually taking screenshots and annotating them and doing that, and Evernote. So I think there are loads of tools out there that people could use. Your cat's there, your lovely cat.
Autobahn.
She's going. Just seeing what's available there that could help other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm here to be your your Macintosh user that does things a little bit differently. But yeah, the practical ways in which we slip back and forth between apps, um, I think it's one of the reasons we're so form independent, because then you can just shamelessly say, well, this part works really well in this function, but then I jump over there for this other function.
Yeah.
And I know that as a developer, that also pushes the developers to think very carefully about what features they add in and where it goes, to be able to get the most out of it. It's not like
She's
the time she ate my
determined. Is
hair.
it treat time?
That can help because, we always keep these handy. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
And
anyway.
it's nice to see her. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You see the early morning windows, she's awake and she keeps passing behind me because out that window is where the feral cats pass. And it's war around here. It's a big deal. They're chasing it at all times. So where were we? So this in this episode coming on Thursday,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about your specific focus,
So it all starts from Sir John Parker Mosley and his
mostly.
children, Mosley,
Mhm.
Mosley. And he had quite a few children. And then some of his children had quite a few children. And I just think that family meetings must have been massive if they ever got together.
And you
You
do
think
have
if you,
some wonderful pictures too.
yeah,
Um,
yes. I
you know,
managed to find a portrait of somebody who's got a lot of children, and they've actually identified at the bottom who they all are, and it even includes the first wife who has died and the child that has died in a portrait hanging on the wall with everyone else below, which I've not come across before, and I thought it was a lovely way of commemorating everybody.
wow. Having worked so hard on Pongo where facial recognition was an important part of the product, finding those pictures of pictures and pictures on the wall is just very cool because, when we were doing the testing, just trying to when you have all those little children in the same family, that is like it's incredibly hard for software to tell the difference between them. And actually what those pictures become is iconic to mapping age differences because you may have other documents that validate their age differences.
Mhm.
And now you have what they looked like at their different age differences. And then you can use that picture to then apply to a bunch of other pictures. Today, that kind of core technology is available in other things, but understanding the core behind it is, I think, really important for everything and how we go about it and what we do.
Mhm.
Yeah, and who knows, you just might find yourself some cousins, even among our Projectkin, because we know they're out there, and with a family this is the 19th century?
18th century.
18th century. Wow.
Yes.
So the chances of finding some cousins related from there, not too bad.
And actually, so okay, Roots Tech. Roots Tech is
Uh-huh.
coming up fairly soon. The registration opens in a couple of weeks, and you get
24th, I think. Yeah,
Roots Tech Relatives.
right.
And so, as part of Roots Tech Relatives, I have found people who descend from him in this family in Roots Tech Relatives, and and took screenshots and things like that. So, yes, it's entirely possible that there are connections.
Yeah, last year, of course, we did the Roots Tech ride along. Haven't decided what I'm going to try to do this year. I don't think I'm going from California to Utah is not a big deal, but anyway, we'll see. Haven't decided what to be doing at Roots Tech, but you're right. We need to do some interesting things. Yes, Relative at Roots Tech was great fun, and it's funny you mention that because I think our all-time queen with the most relatives at Roots Tech is
With
Kyla
you?
Bayan. No,
No?
no, no. I don't mean relatives to me. I mean who found the largest, you know how they give you that number when you have how many people are related to you?
Yep.
And I think it's Kyla Bayang who it just blew all the numbers away. I mean, she was north of 50,000 as I recall. Um,
50,000.
yeah, yeah. I was north of 30,000.
Okay.
Um, and I say that with shock because it's only half my family, right? And just a remarkable number of them are related to just one line.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think that's just because it was somebody's Mormon LDS church, something like that. But yeah, but Kyla has far and away the largest numbers I've ever heard of, and she's my guest on Sunday. I bring that up because it takes us back to the Stories 250, which has been actually a remarkable number of people have been contributing. My far and away largest number of stories contributed have been from Anne Young in Australia, telling stories about her English family in America and telling their stories who happen to be on both sides of the American Revolution. Or, of course, the person who started the idea was Jane Chapman, who had one relative, who Richard Lang, who was on three sides of the revolution. It was a
What, he
patriot, a
changed sides at
loyalist,
some point?
and
Yeah.
Spanish. Well, he did change, but he was also briefly Spanish as well because he migrated down to Florida, which was of course Spanish at the time. And yeah, no, these are just fascinating stories. And again, they connect us, which is the part that blows me away. Maybe I am just always wanting to be finding a way to, unity and all.
So
Kumbaya.
talking about connections, I
Yeah,
would recommend that people start looking, if they haven't already done so, at their family tree on Family Search.
yeah, that's
And
exactly right.
I'm going to be interviewing a lady called Lucy Reynoldson in the near future about Family Search. So look out for that on my Journeys to Genealogy podcast. But in preparation for Roots Tech, have a look at your tree, check it's got no gaps and that it all looks correct, and work your way
Yeah.
through it. And then see, we should have a competition who can find the most relatives and things like that. We might have to exclude you and Kyla.
Oh, I'm nothing. And I'm telling you, Kyla just like blows it up. She could be our judge and just take her out of the
Yeah.
take her out of the running. Um, but yes, I think that's very good advice. And Family Search, like Wiki Tree, is one of these trees that is the all public. Well, they've introduced their new angle, but they're all public tree. And yeah, there is some absolute garbage in there, no question about that. And every now and then somebody comes along and jiggers up the tree, and you're like, "What did you just do? What are you thinking?" So there are there words? There's wiki fights. What do they call it when I guess you don't fight on Family Search. But clearly there's some pockets of outrage when things have been rearranged. I anyway, it is
I go
it
through sometimes and actually delete duplicates or merge
that's what I'll do.
duplicates,
Oh, I do too. I
because there are
actually do that
so
too because
many
there's
you come
some of the
across. Oh, there are
really
six
garbage.
duplicates, and you just think, okay, you're all the same person. Let's make you all the same person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like maybe you didn't know to search for the person already existing. I mean, come on, same names, same locations, same birth, death dates, same marriage dates.
So
Come
it
on, man.
tells you when you're
Well, it
trying to
will.
put the
If you
person
know
on. It'll say,
if duplicate found. Yeah. But you
yeah,
have to pay attention to that part is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But in any case, I agree with you. Just getting the alignment of the trees, even if you've got that in another site, is great fun when you bring it into this environment and you can see where the connections are. I personally keep my own tree outside of all of these platforms where I've got my
Likewise.
own documentation and my family and so on. But I my primary tree has been on Family Search, and I'll be honest, it's because largely it had already been done from ancestors going back some distances. So it's I do keep my own, but these pieces here have seemed to be really quite solid. There's a whole lot of DAR types that are very, very cautious, so that helps. Hanging around with the pros is what I'm saying, which is what I'm doing here.
And talking about that and bringing Roots Tech back into it. So I took screenshots of the um, connections that it said where we thought we were connected, and it went
Yeah.
2 or 3 generations back and that sort of thing. I haven't really done a great deal with them, but I know I've got them sitting in a folder there with an action required. But some of them do relate to these lines in the tree, so I may well go and have
Ah.
another look through, and the people I'm talking about in the current
Oh,
talk
that's a
version,
great idea.
and just have another look at those.
That's a great idea. And actually, that was a tip that Kyla gave us last year. I had her on the Roots Tech ride along, was saying, hey, the thing is, you make a note who that person is that you're connected to and where it is, who the connection is. Um, I definitely found a third cousin that way, third, fourth, fifth cousins that way. And take a picture of the tree. Most of the people don't seem to respond to those, which is, you just, I guess, have to get used to that. But it was, yeah, doing it by family trees. And what are we, eighth cousins? I think that's eighth or 10th cousins, you and I.
I can't remember. I did
I
take
can't remember.
screenshots last year. I can't remember what it was. But virtually everybody on Projectkin that I talked to, it's like there are at least 6 or 7 of us. Oh yes, we're all cousins, not just
Yeah,
related to each other, related to all of us. Yeah.
that's
But
right.
what I'm hoping is that when Roots Tech actually the registration opens, that they will actually relatives will open at the same time, so
Ah,
that
you
we
think
can
it'll be at the
start
same
actually.
time this year? That'll be
I don't
great.
know. That's what I'm
Yeah, I think it
hoping.
was like a month ahead last year. But yeah, hey, it is great fun. I will admit, the first time I heard about it, I was like, my privacy hackles went up. I'm like, why would I do that? What are you talking about? But then you stop and realize, if you're even in the tree at all, the connection to you, even as private person, the connection to the public people that who have passed, who are in your tree, it's there, and that's all we're talking about.
And if you
Um,
talk about the other thing is the famous relatives on Family Search.
oh
Have you
yeah,
looked at that recently?
that would. Oh, not recently. Oh,
Okay, because it talks about presidents and prime
yeah.
ministers and all sorts of things like that. And I actually read through this the other day, and I think 24 of the American presidents I'm related to, or something ridiculous.
There we go. There we
We could
go.
have a competition there. How many presidents are you related to, or something like that?
Okay, stories 250. Come on now. Come on now. You know you have them, and it's okay if they're on the loyalist side. We're totally fine with that.
To be honest, I don't know of anybody ancestor-wise who was over at the time of the American Revolution. I know that one of my great grandfathers fought out there briefly, and I think he was injured in some way. But I don't know anything more really other than that.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Mhm.
Anne Wendell had a wonderful story about uh, a, a, a teenager, basically a Hessian who became a teenager in what we call Germany today, was well, why not join? Let's see what's going on. So he joins up as a Hessian soldier fighting for the British. It's a great story. It's fascinating. And it's really interesting to sort of see what the different perspectives are of these young men going to battle and what they went through. And yeah, I have a lot of ancestors that fought in the war, but most of them were like, a private shows up for a little while, bye bye. Like, that's it. Nothing dramatic.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. And I think that's fascinating. It's a connection that yeah, gives you these roots in time,
So,
the
just
soil
out of
you're in.
interest, is there a place where people can put their biographies of their ancestors who fought in the war on whichever side?
You mean other than what we're building? You mean some official thing?
Hmm.
Well, some of what I'm trying to do with Stories 250 is to say you post them to your publication and let me create a navigation to those in this context, which is they were there at the time. I was in the room where it happened, so to speak. And is that of there is no, for example, there are many lineage societies here in the US.
Mm.
And the lineage societies, the one I know about is the Daughters of the American Revolution. And they do have a database that is publicly accessible, and I'd be happy to share that, where people can go to see if thus name on thus date and so on was in fact recognized by this institution as someone who usually it's collected a pension is how they track that, and then they have they don't directly include the links to the pension files, but as you know, those are increasingly becoming available.
Mm.
Um, Oddly, they don't have a place where the profiles are published. Um, there are things like I should know this the battlefields. One of you out there knows this. um, uh, I'll bring it in. I want to say Institution of Battlefields, American Battlefields, or something like that. That includes a lot of detailed, historically curated archives of what happened on different battles, and then they will provide profiles of individuals. That's where I found, for example, the absolutely remarkable story of Armistead Lafayette, or James Armistead Lafayette. I talked about in the Lafayette story, and I'll pick that one up at another time. I'm trying to find a scholar who has written stories about this to join in on this conversation, because I think that is the kind of thing that are the unexpected stories that I think are need to be told. And I love when they are told from family members. But in short, no. To my knowledge, there isn't a single place. And
I
it's
think there's a gap
probably
there. Mm.
But, like all stories, I think what gets interesting is when they are retold from different perspectives. Even a
What I'm
famous
thinking of is
uh-huh.
having a website somewhere that basically people can upload their ancestors onto it, or they can search for their ancestors on there. They can put a little mini biography of somebody up there, what they know about them, and ask other people if they know of them, and see what connections there are and things like that.
Isn't that what's happening on Substack?
Yeah, but it's not independent and it's not a single place. You're indexing things from different places, and people are doing them all on their own different things. But actually putting them into one central place that people get, it's basically you could duplicate it. You could have it on Substack, and you could have it in one central location with a link back to Substack or wherever people host things.
Yeah. I think sorry, this is my platform head coming on. I tend to think that that one central place is in a sense the internet. And that there is great power in having the independence of a lot of different places where these stories are told. Here in this country, we have things like the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian, that have been repositories, or the Internet Archive that have been repositories for these kinds of stories. And we have seen how vulnerable these can be to opinions and perspective that can change access even to these kinds of stories and archives. It's one of the reasons why I feel so strongly about independence and ownership, because each of us in this environment is owners and curators of the stories that we publish, and we control them from somebody else coming along and deciding that's not what I want to hear. Um, I think the Internet Archive could be a good place right now. If you sign up and create an account on the Internet Archive, you can take any web page anywhere on the planet and archive that to the Wayback Machine. Um, and that works not completely for all media types, but it's a wonderful way to just bank it essentially. I'd love to see, and I've thought about ways, I don't know what the answer is, to take, I was thinking of people who have, archival collections, digital archival collections of materials, and creating a structure where they can upload all of that to the Internet Archive so that it's searchable by anybody anywhere. Um, and
That's an interesting idea.
I
Mm.
I don't know how to describe what that structure ought to look like, but I mean, I'm right here. I could go talk to the people at the Internet Archive and say, knock, 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 I got this idea. I really could. I just don't have that full perspective to it. So I guess that's an offer. I'm open to it. Anybody have any suggestions for the structure that that should take? I would be happy with. I got experience to do this, to articulate that in a form that their developers could understand and take that forward. They do have projects, if you look into the Internet Archive projects, which are designed to inhale content of very specific media types. And that would take raising money and whatnot to
So,
do.
a question I haven't considered before. Can you back up your Substack to the Internet Archive?
Uh, you know, let me take that question and go see if I can go find an answer for you.
Mm.
Because a full the short answer is I think so, absolutely, just by taking any one page and doing that methodically. But it's a really good question, and that's not a good enough answer. Let me go research that and tell you, because I think the answer is absolutely yes.
And the
Uh,
other thing is, I just had a thought about backups and things like that and exporting Substack. Does anybody export their Substack?
I do.
I'm partway through doing a post, just telling people how to do it. The things doing that, but I did it for the first time this week, and
Mhm.
so I've now got an export of all my
Yeah.
posts on there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I did that. I haven't done that as regularly as I'd like to, and I don't think it exports media like videos.
Embeds images in the files.
Images, but not videos. So I think
Yeah.
videos, you can absolutely download all videos that are in a post as the owner of the post. But I think you have to do that individually, which is in some cases a big deal. It's on my list of things to do. I have made a practice of downloading my subscriber base on a regular basis. I do it as kind of part of my workflow. I can't say that it's monthly, it's just as a part of the workflow. And I think that's just a good practice for everyone. And my suggestion, what you do is you go to your subscribers. It's a three dot menu. Go to the three dot menu and say export. It pops up. You say what fields you want to see, and then downloads, and it just downloads it as a CSV file. It gives you a lot more detail to be able to look through about who your subscribers are and what they're doing, and it tells you a lot about who people are and what you want, how you can be addressing interests better. Somebody wants some attention.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
good at letting you know, aren't they?
they are. This is Zarabeth. Say hi. And well, Zarabeth will be here on Thursday. I can be pretty reliably. She steps into her little box, sits in the sidecar to my desk, and we'll take it from there and learn about the Mosley family. Is there a You gave me the name at the beginning, Sir somebody Mosley? What was that
So
again?
John Parker Mosley.
John Parker Mosley. You're going to send me the name and the dates at the end of this so that I can include him in the notes, and we'll find out
Okay.
who else is related to him.
Mhm.
Does he have his profile on Family Search, since we're talking about Family Search here?
Probably. I'll
Probably.
go and have a
Okay.
look. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll share it.
Then you can just send me the ID, and I'll make sure to include it in the notes. Again,
Excellent.
thank you all for joining. It's a thrill to see you. And we always enjoy these conversations. Never know where they're going to go, from the 100 Acre Wood to the 17th, did you say 17th century? You
18th.
did, didn't you? 18th century,
Yeah.
1700s. And wow, we've been everywhere from pedigree collapse to teddy bears
And cats.
and cats. So come and tell me so. Oh, thank you so much, Marion. It's lovely to see you. We do enjoy a tea time. Maybe that's, I don't know. Do British really have tea? Do English really have tea at 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Not necessarily 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but do have tea. Yes.
Hey, I only know what I know about having tea from Winnie the Pooh and other Tea with the Queen, Pussycat, Pussycat, where have you been? I
Paddington
did,
Bear. Yep.
yeah, Paddington Bear, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, you know, cultural exports. There we are. All righty then. I'll let you go, but thank you so much for doing this and all of you for joining us at, if you're out here in California, very early hour. If you're in Australia, why aren't you in bed? And to Hawaii, good morning. It's a delight to have you all, and we will pick this back up again on next Thursday at what I like to call Atlantic time, which is 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time here on the continental Americas, so US and Canada and Mexico, of course, and over to the continent at 6 p.m. in the UK, 7 p.m. on the continent. You see, I can memorize it when it's just two different time zones. That's my secret. All right.
Excellent. Lovely to see you and see you again on Thursday. Okay.
You bet.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.